Good evening. It is a little bit after 6 p.m. Wednesday, and I just finished my initial workout that marks the resumption of my training. Haven't trained since before I had this surgery, which has been 11 weeks or so now, 10, 11 weeks. And of course, I haven't been on, I cut off the testosterone like 2 weeks prior to the surgery. So that's been, I don't know, 12 or 13 weeks. And at this point, along those lines, I'm not really inclined to resume any testosterone usage right now. I'm feeling, I don't know how I'm feeling. I'm feeling better because I'm 20 pounds lighter. I'm revved up about getting lean now because once you begin to see it, my waist is coming down quite a bit now. I've lost size all over, but I've lost a really decent amount of body fat so far. And I haven't really even tried. I mean, I have tried, but it's been the smallest of efforts. All it was just cleaning up my diet, not overeating since I'm not training and I'm not trying to build muscle. And pretty much just ate like a normal person, sensible portions, etc., etc. So, typically I was off for 8 months, 9 months, 7 months. I think it was 8 or 9 months the last time I was off. And there's a video up. It's called "I'm sick of this low T bullshit" or "tired of this low T bullshit" or whatever. That video's been up. That was back then. And if you see the video, if you've seen it, I'm plenty big. I'm big beyond what people believe is achievable to have been off any kind of substance for 8 months or so. Nobody would believe that, but you can't you can't discount my previous history. You can't discount how big I have been back in the day and how long I've been lifting. And while I've been on YouTube, more than half of the time that you've seen me on YouTube, I've been off more than on. But it's because I had this foundation. I trained naturally initially for, I don't even know how long, 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Then I did, because everybody said, "My God, you look so good." I was training in a pretty hardcore gym. They said, "Man, you have a really natural affinity, good genetics for this. You should you should try some testosterone." And this is a long time ago. So back then, we didn't, do the amounts that people do today. We didn't know. I mean, there wasn't any internet. So where are you going to get your information? You'd have to know people that worked out, trained, built muscle, built strength, whatever the case may be. And everybody was cautious. And this was a period of time when, I can remember when it was legal, when you could go to your doctor. Let me put it to you this way. This is going to really blow your mind, but when I was in high school, we didn't know what steroids were. It wasn't even anything. It wasn't an issue. Nobody was talking about it. It wasn't the shit, the way it is today. It wasn't like that. So I remember when, and I can say this because the man's passed away by now, but I can remember when our family's personal doctor, in fact, was also the team's doctor at the local high school for the football team. And if you had problems gaining weight, you were trying to make the team, but you were just really small, he would prescribe you Dianabol. And these are kids, but back then this is the mentality, the prevailing mentality. People didn't, Even back then, the literature was that they didn't really build muscle, they enabled you to gain weight. That's what it was. If you go back and look at the history, the actual facts, until we were getting our ass kicked by the Eastern Bloc, we didn't know that it even had any value for performance enhancement. In fact, the literature said it had no value for. This is why I always say, like, studies are studies, because if it helps you and you glean something from it, that's awesome. But don't put all your eggs in that basket of studies, because we don't really know what the hell we're talking about. Not really. Stuff that comes out in a study, groundbreaking, new discovery this year, decade from now, that'll be superseded by something other, because there'll be some pathway or some facet that is a key thing that we didn't understand. And so it just restructures the entire theory, working theory. So don't put all your, these people that are always science, it's not an exact science. We don't understand it to that degree. There's human body, man. There's much more we don't know than what we do know. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but back then, they were not illegal. They weren't classified as a Schedule III controlled substance in the U.S., and it wasn't any issue. Wasn't even nobody even looked at it twice, or even for the team doctor to prescribe D-ball for kids that couldn't gain weight and wanted to play ball. Maybe next season put some weight on, because it was considered something that would help you gain weight. Can you imagine that today? Now it's completely a total reversal of how these things are viewed. Anyway, we know more now. We don't know it all, but we know more. And 10 more years from now, 20 more years from now, 30 more years from now, we'll know even more. But so I had trained naturally for 6-7 years, whatever the hell it was. Started out as a really skinny guy. And I then did one 10 milliliter bottle of Cypionate. It was Steris Labs Testosterone Depot, or Depot Testosterone, whatever the hell their brand of Cypionate was at the time. This was before the patents had run out on any of this stuff, so there wasn't any. The thing back then, there weren't any generics yet. These were patented, trademarked, compounds. And then when the patent expires or whatever, after so much time, then I don't know how it exactly works, but I have an idea of it. After so much time, then they can, they can manufacture generic versions of something. But so everything was legit. Why wouldn't it be? There wasn't any market for counterfeits, because you could go to your doctor and say to your doctor, "Doc, I'm trying to put some muscle, I'm trying to gain some size, I need to gain some weight." And you'd have a better shot then of having something prescribed. It probably wouldn't be an injectable, it would probably be D-ball, than you do today, really. Which is a shame. But I did one bottle of Cypionate, and back then it was 10 milliliters, it was 200 milligrams a milliliter. If any of you guys that are down understand what the hell I'm saying here. If you don't, then, good for you. That's good. Whatever. But back then we did 1.5 milliliters the first week, 1.5 milliliters the second week, and then the next 7 weeks, it was a 9-week cycle. The next 7 weeks we did 1 milliliter a week. So it was 200 milligrams a week, except for the first 2 weeks where we front loaded at 300 milligrams a week. And that was that. And I did that once that year, that first initial year, and then I did that again that initial year. And yeah, I made incredible gains from that, believe it or not. But then it wasn't anything I wasn't hooked on it. It wasn't anything that I felt like, yeah, I really want to get into this now, that I'm gung-ho. I tried it, and then I didn't do anything else. I trained on my own accord. I'm not going to say naturally, because even though I wasn't taking anything for the next 6.5 years, it's still, I don't know that you can negate the impact of the shit. Maybe initially you could, but by now I don't think that you can separate that from my physique. So, I trained for like 6 or 7 years, did those 2 bottles of Cypionate, and then I trained again another 6.5 years with nothing. And I still made gains, but here's the thing, I don't believe that I would have gotten past that first initial huge sticking point. It would have been a long, hard battle to get anywhere beyond that. But that test bumped me over that, hurdled me over that. And then I was able to go on naturally and actually gain a little bit more. I didn't have the same composition, but I certainly wasn't fat. When I was on those 2 first bottles, those both of those times in that year, I got really, really hard. And I got bigger, considerably bigger. I gained a good bit of size. And then the next 6.5, I wasn't as hard and conditioned, but I did gain more weight. I did gain more size. I gained more muscle. Well, more muscle, but I wasn't, so, it's arguable, right? But I did make gains for the next 6.5 years. They were very slow, but I was fine with that. And then the only reason that I ever did it again, I went back to it, was because I was a single dad, and I have a trade, but if this was going to be a way, it looked like in the magazines these guys were making money hand over fist. This was back in the era where they used to have bodybuilders in the Weeder magazines would pose next to rented cars and shit like they were their cars. So I'm thinking, God, these guys are making all this money just to lift weights and build muscle. So I thought, I'm already so big that everybody just assumes I'm on. But back then it wasn't demonized, so it wasn't a thing. Somebody said, hey, what are you on? And then you said, I'm not on anything. Like, really? Wow, man, you look great. It wasn't like I looked so great that it was unbelievable. But today, people have such diminished expectations, lowered expectations, that they wouldn't even be able to accept that. They would say, oh, there's no way he's got it, But back then, it wasn't that difficult to believe because guys built muscle on their own, And I had already done that Cypionate 6.5 years prior. So, but at that point, I thought that this was an inroad to some possibly life-changing money. And so I took a shot, I took my shot. And, I set these boundaries. I said, well, okay, I got to stay alive. I have responsibilities, but I'll do anything within this box, I'll do. Since I seem to have really good genetics, it seems to be easy for me to build muscle, and I have good shape, so I did have good shape until I got too big. Anything extrapolated too big, you're going to ruin your symmetry, what they call symmetry, right? We know that's not really symmetry. Symmetry means, you got one leg over here, you got another leg over here, and so forth and so on. But as they consider muscle symmetry, my silhouette, my overall physique actually looked great until, I took it too far and got so big that but that was the game at the time. That's what everybody was doing at that time. So I did everything in this box. I competed. I got to where I was potentially, I could get some money, make some money competing. And I did that one show. And of course, I screwed up. I looked great the show before that. I looked awesome. And in that show, I blew it because I had already lost interest. The fire wasn't there in me. I was already, kind of shutting down as far as, I never had a passion to compete. I never enjoyed competing. I never liked it. I always have liked just lifting. I used to love being strong and lifting heavy weight, challenging myself. And I like building muscle. But I never liked competing. It just seemed to be a means to an end financially. And then when I found out that, number one, money's not really in there like that. There's money, but for very few, and it's you got to really grind. But for me to be in the money, I would have to do things outside of that box as far as what I'm going to put into my body, supplementation wise. And I wasn't willing to do that because it was too much to risk. I had to think about more than just me. So, moved on. Anyway, that's the story. But, so today, I don't, just like when I was off that last 8 months, I've been off chunks of months like that. And if you're familiar with my videos, you know that. I was off for 8 months. I worked hard to keep that size for 8 months. I mean, I was eating everything was like clockwork, and my training was a lot different over that period of 8 months. It grew to be completely different, morphed into a totally different type of approach to be able to hold all that muscle without the gear. But I started feeling, I just felt so much like shit, like run down. And, comparatively now, I know there are guys out here my age that are natural. Well, you've been natural all this time. So that's what you normally feel like, however you feel, and you can function like that. And that's good on you. That's awesome. That's great. Congratulations. That's probably the better thing. But me, I went from having energy, having vigor and vitality, and then to having whatever a guy my age would be feeling like typically. And that was a whole different ballgame for me. I was still able to do it. I was still able to hold the muscle, but the quality of life aspects of it, all the typical symptoms of low T I was experiencing. So I went back on, I just had enough. 8 months of it, 9 months of it was enough. But now today, like I said, cut that shit off, because you're not going to get, if you got any common sense, you're not going to go have surgery, with all this in your bloodstream. And when I say all this, even if it's 250 mgs a week or whatever have you, 300 mgs a week, whatever it is, or maybe it's a lot less, maybe it's straight up TRT. But if you have any sense, you're not going to roll in there for surgery, a major surgery, with this, skewing your blood panel. How can they going to make distinctions and separate things with that in there? It's just one more thing that doesn't need to be in there. And the other aspect of it is, if that hematocrit level's up, if those red blood cells are high, higher than they should otherwise be, or would otherwise be, you may bleed. You may bleed more. You might bleed more. So, even though your blood's thicker, you should clot, but you're going to have more blood. Blood volume is different. Anyway, it's just, I didn't want that going on. So, and that's nothing new. I would do that anytime if I were getting ready to go under the knife for whatever, or some kind of thing. So this was a major thing, so I knocked it off. So now here we are today, and it's been this 11, 12 weeks, whatever the hell it's been, 13 weeks, I don't know even. I'd have to add it up, off. And I feel okay because I'm so much lighter that it feels healthier. And I'm enthused by, just the look of, just the feel of just feeling more compact and feeling, leaner, thinner. But, I just worked out, and it was the most unimpressive workout that I've done in a long, long time. And it was very, very primitive. Very primitive. So I didn't bother to video it. I'm telling you, it would have bored you to tears. I will video more as I go back and get back into shape, on or not. But right now, I don't have any intention of going back on. I'm going to try this and see. Now, if I have a lot of joint issues and things, which I started to have after those, 8 or 9 months. If I have those kind of things, and, the test is going to fix that, those are some of the things that justify in a lot of men's minds the improvement in quality of life. Muscle building aside, which is nothing to just write off and brush off anyway. The muscle building aspect, it's healthier the more, to a point. It's healthier to maintain as much as you can. I'm not saying get extreme, ridiculous. And extremes of anything aren't the greatest thing to do. But although people do them, and that's freedom of choice. You do what you want. It's your life. It's your body. But it's good to hold on to as much muscle as you can now, so that as you continue to get older and the degradation that comes with age, a physical degrading of your body, and the unavoidable atrophy, it's going to hopefully slow that down some, slow that process down, because you have more muscle. you've walked into this older age with more muscle than you typically, a guy my age might. Anyway, so right now I don't have any intention of going back on any at all. I'm going to ride this out and see how this feels. I'll tell you, I guess I'll know something tomorrow, see what my joints are feeling like. Normally I have no joint pains. No joint pains, none. None. And they tell me, from different imaging that's been done lately, as I went in for all this, they tell me that, or they make notations. They don't always point this out to you. That's why you need to have access to your records so you can read all the notations, because they only tell you what's relevant and pertinent to what the situation is, unless there's something that they feel is drastic. So even blood panels, you could have flags and shit. They're not going to sit down and talk to you about that necessarily. It's good for you to look at this shit and have it available to you. And the provider I go through, everything is put online in a file, and I can get all of it. I can see the CAT scans, I can see blood work, I can see whatever. MRIs, whatever the case may be. So I know that allegedly I have a noticeable amount of arthritis in my spine, in my back. I don't feel it. But now if I stay off for months and months and months and months, will I begin to feel it? Because I'll tell you another thing. One time I was off for 3 years, and this was, 2009, 2010. I was off for 3 years. Almost 3 years. It was like 2 years, 7 months or something like that. I just was burned out. And on lifting, period. It was just a nice break. Been doing it forever. And the only reason that I returned, really, was because with all the atrophy then, I was just trying to become a normal guy, basically, as much as I could. Man, I had a lot of aches and pains that I don't even see a hint of otherwise. So I had to build all that muscle back up to support that spine, because the spine is so encapsulated in it, your back, and every other thing. Knee surrounded by muscle, et cetera, et cetera. But the bad thing is, once you decide to let that all go, I don't need it anymore. Okay, you let that all go, or a large amount of it. And it's harder to come back. I mean, yes, you have that muscle memory. You theoretically, and most likely, realistically, you have more nuclei, right, than you started out with, because of all the time in and everything else in the lifting over and over for years and years. And you'll never lose that. So you have more muscle, which still atrophies, but there's more to work with when you go back. And that's why you can regain faster the second time, or when you return, than it took you in the first place. But because of the degradation, the wear and tear from age, once you start to feel that, and you've atrophied all this musculature, it's holding your skeleton together, then it's a little bit painful to come back. But then once you get over that hump, you stick it out, then, relief, no more pain, everything's good to go. So right now, even at this reduced body size and weight, feel fine, feel great, feel good, So, will I go back on? Yeah, I will if I need to, if I feel I need to. I don't have to justify it to anybody, I'm just sharing. Yeah, but if I don't need to, I'm not going to, because I'll tell you what, you have to weigh, the trade-off. Quality of life improvement over what's really, truly healthy. And I'll tell you, it's not the same thing always. What's physically healthy, I think that there are negative repercussions, to all of it. But, it's like I said, it's that trade-off. Is it worth your while? And you can do a lot of things to minimize, your exposure to risk if you're careful and you're moderate, but. Anyway, so I warmed up my chest. I did all 15 rep sets today. I'm not telling you this is how I train. I haven't trained in a while. And I'm off. So it's a whole different thing for me now. And I did 15 rep sets. First I did the seated horizontal press, chest press machine, with the selectorized stack. I did that, and I just kept increasing the weight. And I was just doing sets of 15 reps, kept increasing the weight. Started out very modest, warm everything up, because I'm old. And once I got to the point where to get to 15 reps, it was a challenge. Then I did 2 or 3 sets there because they were my true work sets as I defined it today. Then I moved over to the flat bench press. I did the same thing. Then I went back to the chest press and I changed hand position, closer in and with a neutral grip rather than out wider, right? I did it like this the first time around, then I did my bench pressing, then I come back and did this, same kind of approach with the rep scheme. Then I moved on to some tricep stuff. The first thing I did was with a rope, pull downs or press downs, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to say pull downs because all muscles pull, no muscle can press anything. So I did pull downs and then got the elbows all good and warm as if they weren't already, just overabundance of caution. And then I sat down on a seated 90-degree bench and worked my way up, 15 reps, started with a light dumbbell behind my head, over my head, right? Triceps, which I love that exercise, until I got to a heavy enough dumbbell. Plus I'm being fatigued too, so it's being overly cautious, actually, it works out that way. Until I got to a weight that 15 reps was challenging, and then I did 2 or 3 sets like that. And I went back over and did tricep press downs. And then that's it. And then here I am. So, didn't video that today because it was really not much to behold. Really wasn't. But I will video everything as we get going, even the food. This was just my first initial dance out here, and I'm happy with it. It was cool. I forgot how much I enjoyed Iron Maiden, like the first couple of albums with Paul Di'Anno singing on it. I like that stuff, so I listened to the Killers album, cranked it up pretty good. Anyway, that's it for now, man. I'm gonna roll into the house. I'm gonna get some food in me, some nutrition, and I gotta piss like a racehorse. You guys take care. Hope you're having a great evening.